Hi, it's Janine from Bipolar She. Before we get started, the content of the show does include suicide and suicidal ideation. If you are ever in need of immediate support, please dial 988, a suicide and crisis lifeline. I believe in the healing power of writing and speaking our mental health stories in all their raw details. So let's go. Welcome to Bipolar She Raw. These are conversations that are a little jagged and unplanned, but with some relevant content. Today, I catch up with Madelynn after her episode Witchcraft, where she speaks about major depression. We talk about what a partial psychiatric hospitalization is like and what happens when a mental health professional crosses a boundary and shatters your trust. Welcome, Madelynn. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me back. I am having one of those days when I go back and read the stuff I wrote to myself when I was feeling better, which is a long way of saying I'm struggling a bit today. How are you?
I'm okay right now. Yeah, the mornings are always a bit easier for me. But for you, did you go to bed not feeling great?
I didn't sleep last night. I maybe got about 3 hours of sleep. So that's part of it. I'm just having those feelings of hopelessness again, of kind of what's the point and how long can I do my job and this life, those kinds of feelings. And I know they'll pass. It's just heavy on me at this particular moment, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely, in many ways. But I'm curious about this feeling for you. Does it switch like in a day? Or how often do you feel like this?
Lately, it seems to happen when I put myself out there in some way to try to make my life a little bit bigger, and I feel rejected in some way, whether it's a real rejection or imagined one. It's a real sadness and sometimes anger mixed in there. Like my internal voices, what were you thinking? Thinking you could change your life or do something you wanted to do or do something creative or have a certain kind of relationship, like just face facts. It's time to put these childish notions aside. It's a very harsh voice. So it depends how long it lasts. I mean, talking to friends really helps. So talking to you now is really helping to process it. And I think the more I can talk about it and reach out to people and write about it or, express how I feel, the less I internalize it and the less it becomes, well, this is all because you are not a worthwhile human being. Because it turns into that so very quickly for me.
You do take medication and you do have therapy and support. Do you feel like it's not quite allowing you to feel more secure or handle things? Do you think you need some adjustments there?
I do take medication, which I think is very helpful for me. And my therapist is really wonderful. I'm getting prescribed my medication through my HMO, and I'm reticent to, this is a personal thing, to see a psychiatrist again to get evaluated. I had a long relationship with a psychiatrist whom I really trusted, who was inappropriate with me and sexually inappropriate with me. It's hard to talk about. I think psychiatry is a really important field, and I know intellectually it's not an intellectual thing though, it's an emotional thing too, that I have some trust issues, being vulnerable and really saying what I need to say. There are a couple new things I'm thinking about doing, which tells me, I'm still fighting the fight here. And I've talked to my therapist. She suggested I look into doing like comprehensive psychological tests because maybe there's something else that could inform this roadmap, give it a little more detail. This roadmap to my depression and my spicy brain. And I've also been thinking about doing an intensive outpatient program. So I think that might be a good path to explore. I think one of my main issues is shoring up my self-esteem. It just disappears at the drop of a hat. So I think something that could help me with my self-esteem would be really, really valuable. And I think it'll take some time.
I think the idea of a partial hospitalization is really important.
Yes.
I've been in a handful of them. I entered them at times where I was really not doing well. I was probably somewhat manic still or terribly depressed. So they weren't decisions to go in and get daily care.
Right.
So I think I just want to clarify that the partial programs, are they about 4 hours a day, morning or afternoon?
That's right. The one I looked at was, I think it's 3-hour blocks. You can go from 9 to 12, 12 to 3, or 3 to 6. How was your experience with, and then, sorry, let me finish the thought. So I could take some time off to do the program, and that it focuses on some life skills, which I think would be helpful for me. Some executive function stuff I'm not super great at, and self-esteem, which, as I mentioned, is a big concern of mine. How was your experience with them? Is there anything you took away from those partial hospitalizations that are useful nuggets still in dealing with your bipolar?
I don't know how useful they are.
Okay.
I remember one, I was just pacing for like 3 days. I couldn't even sit in the circle. So I would just make more and more hot cocoa and walk around the room. I don't think it was helping me for a while. The one thing that did help me, it's kind of funny. I remember feeling very much like an actress also because I had to go call my agent in the middle of the day program because of extra work. And then this project came up where they needed a body double.
Ooh.
And so I'm like on the payphone talking to my agent in the partial hospitalization. And I think I took a day off from it to go into the city and audition, but I had never felt more like an actor then, That's
Definitely.
where those deals are made at rehabs.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And psych centers. But the one thing I did get, and I remember this clearly, I remember this guy in the sweatsuit. He never changed his sweatsuit, but he was in my group, and this young woman had been through a sexual assault. And something had happened to me while I was manic. But just hearing that word assault, it defined what happened to me. And I learned a vocabulary word that changed my life and changed my relationship to a very scary incident. So just little moments like that, I don't think I would have been able to learn that inpatient, but I was just strong enough to sit around a table and understand that.
Yeah, that's really powerful to have a container for that experience and some vocabulary around it.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel now when you drink hot cocoa? Do you have a sense memory?
The little packets of it. Oh, that's funny.
With marshmallows or no
No,
marshmallows?
that and tea and whatever they had going on.
Yeah.
But I also had some really hard ones. I'm not sure if I talked about one. One was in Berkeley at a hospital called Herrick, which is just a terrible name for a hospital.
It is.
It's just awful.
It's this close to heretic. So it feels very, Salem witch trials, hysteria kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And at that one, I had a single moment that really changed things. I remember there was this guy and he wouldn't shower and he kept talking about his hygiene and he was super cute. And he rode a motorcycle. And I'm like, why don't you just take a shower? And, it was just kind of
like, oh, clean up that dirty boy. Yeah.
I know. And then there was a woman there that was really compromised cognitively. She had a high-powered job and had a Harvard degree, and she was trying to fill out a form for a retail job. And I just had this moment where I went, I can't be in these programs anymore. I can't do this. I don't want to be this person in a program. I've got to save my brain. I've got to get out of this somehow. So for me, I'd feel like, and I shouldn't feel this way, and we all know this, but hospitalizations, partial or full, feel like a setback to me.
I get that. I do have that feeling as well. It makes me think of my mom when she moved into a senior living facility would say, "Oh, it's just full of old people. Like, I don't want to live with all these old people," which in some ways made me laugh. And in some ways I get it. It's like, I don't want to be with all these crazy people. In my mind, I'm thinking that it's just like, I don't want to see myself reflected. I guess I'm afraid of seeing my own diminished capacity reflected back to me, and that it will scare me. And I think it would be valuable all at the same time.
Definitely. I would think also it might be a way to connect with a psychiatrist and slowly build some trust, because you do the program and each day you meet with them. And so you can build some confidence there, or maybe they'll have a good referral. I think that would be a great outcome from a program like that.
Thank you for that encouragement. It's something I think would benefit me. And the thing that hurts most about that experience is, like, I hate that I was such an easy mark. Like, I hate that I was such an easy, it feels that way, that I was such an easy target. And there are a lot of really good psychiatrists out there who could help me. So why punish myself by not trying it with these better boundaries and information I have available to me now? I'm scared, I guess. I'm scared. And I think I should listen to people I trust, like you and my therapist, and try it. Try it. And if anything feels off, if any comments are made or things are done that don't feel right, I will, maybe I'll feel a little more confident in trusting my gut and saying, this isn't right. We can be so vulnerable with these conditions, and it's a hard reality to accept.
Well, that's a lot of trauma. You don't need to have depression for that to be traumatizing.
True.
And then you end up blaming yourself.
Yes.
I understand that easy mark feeling very much.
Because we really want to be normal or feel like we're normal, whatever that word means. But it's like, oh, you can read this on me. Like it's visible, not just my tremor, not like there's something when you get to know me, and this was a psychiatrist I saw for years, and it happened quite gradually. It's hard. I can't really even articulate it yet, even though it's been a number of years since I ended that relationship. So it's just painful in a lot of ways. And I know we always do this, don't we? We're like, oh, it could have been so much worse, and people have had it so much worse. And that is true. And also what happened to me was painful and left its mark on this easy mark. Yeah.
I had a creepy psychiatrist.
Did you?
Yeah. And who said a few things to me that were upsetting. Like, yeah.
Yeah. He would comment on my appearance, and then some physical things started to happen. And I talked to my therapist about it, and she's very good at keeping a neutral face, but she had a little tell that I was like, oh, I could see just this little shift in her face that made me say, oh crap, this is bad. Like, this is bad. Like, it's not. So she brought me a pamphlet the next week that said, why sex and therapy is never right. I was not raped. Will say that, but And I talked to her about feeling like such an easy mark, and she said, well, I do want to remind you that this happens frequently enough that there is a pamphlet that's been printed that says, why sex and therapy is not, it's not my boundary to hold. It was a psychiatrist's boundary to hold. Yeah. I'm not making much sense here.
No, you are making sense.
Mm.
I had a psychiatrist, never went that far. And it was confusing because he was very respected in the community, and I thought he really cared for me. So it was hard for me to parse it out.
Oh, yes.
I wonder Same.
I had my dad had died not long before I started seeing him, and physically he looked a bit like my dad. His body was about the same size, and he did care about me. And so it was particularly hurtful when he would start making comments about my breasts, and he would start hugging me after sessions and then start whispering things in my ear that were not, so it was, and then I was concerned about him. Does he have dementia? And it became about me justifying what was happening or saying, oh, he's just eccentric, but I have a really great therapist who helped me it's like I needed to get a therapist to talk about my relationship with my psychiatrist. But she really helped me see that it was not my boundary to hold, like that a mental health professional shouldn't be initiating physical contact with you. You shouldn't have to set boundaries about them not touching you without your consent. And I mean, he also offered to do a breast exam for me because, and I did say, no, thank you. Yeah, it was pretty messed up. And the fact that it took me so long to really acknowledge, and I ended up writing him a letter saying, I don't think that you should talk to your patients in that way. And I believe that you really care about me and I care about you, but this has been so confusing. And I realized through working with this therapist, this was not my boundary to hold. It was yours to hold as a medical professional, as a psychiatric professional. So please, I don't want any more contact with you. I didn't have the wherewithal to report him. I had real shame about it. I still felt protective of him. So my hope is he retires soon. He probably will. He's an older doctor. But I do have some guilt about that. Like, I hope it's not happening to anybody else. And I wish I were stronger to, like, if my friend told me this story, I'd be like, hell yeah, you've got to report them. And this is crazy. But somehow I couldn't get there.
I think that's tough. You kind of have to give up at some point and say, this isn't my battle to take to somebody else.
Yes.
I'm just going to protect myself here. And that's what I can do. You don't have to go out and fight the fight.
I just couldn't, even talking about it now, I feel such shame about it. But I do very much trust my therapist. And I believe I can find a psychiatrist whom I trust and whom I can vet a little, from a place of some more experience and more understanding. Like, I can end it sooner if those red flags come up. Hopefully they won't, but it has been a barrier for me to getting better, feeling better, or getting interventions that might help me feel better. I feel like such a loser, Janine. I feel like such a loser.
Don't feel that way. Do you want me to list all the ways I feel like a loser?
Tell me. And I can debunk them all for you.
So just looking at today, being here in the now,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to have a good day or a better day?
That's a great question. Well, talking with someone who understands these feelings and doesn't try to talk me out of them and creates a space like this podcast for people to talk about that, that's been very helpful. And I'll carry that with me today. And I think I'll just concentrate on noticing my feelings, not building a house in them, but noticing them and continuing to do my day, to do my work, to maybe make myself something delicious for breakfast and really enjoy. I have some frozen blueberries, so really enjoy like how those pop in my mouth when I crunch on them. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. Surprise, surprise. We had a little earthquake this morning, but maybe I'll sit outside at lunch during my lunch break and just feel the sun on my skin. And if those feelings are floating around, they can float around, and I'll just say, hi, keep floating, keep floating. I am going to go do some kickboxing tonight. I don't really want to go, but I'm going to go because I think that will help me. And not to project into the future too much, just to have a day and then have another day. Yeah.
All right. So that's our episode on happiness.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for
yeah.
just like talking about now. And I just more than ever want you to have a good day. And I don't want you to think that I am saying don't go to the partial program because I think that's not.
No, I feel like your message is, think about it and maybe try it if you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because, that's what happens with these illnesses.
Yeah.
We can't.
And the idea about, sort of getting to know slowly, sort of date a psychiatrist is a really good idea. I hadn't thought about that, so that's more encouragement. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Hi, it's Janine. Bipolar She is currently an independent podcast. I'm its writer, producer, and host. Please consider this podcast as a work of advocacy, getting important stories to those that need them. As we gather ideas how to keep the show running financially, please do engage with the podcast wherever you find it. Offer up some stars and some likes. You can visit us at bipolarshe.com or at bipolarshe pod on Instagram. And thank you, as always, for your support.